Welcome into our post-game show here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score up in Anaheim tonight, the Angels 2 and the Padres 1, as the Padres drop their second consecutive game, and the Padres also drop the opening game of this three-game series to the Angels. Tough one here tonight, no doubt about it. We'll discuss it all. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we wrap this one up. Not a very high-scoring game at all. Angels had 2 runs on 4 hits. Padres had just 1 run on 6 hits in this one. A lot to do on our post-game coverage. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt coming up in just a little bit. We'll recap this game, go through the radio highlights, and much, much more. Get you involved via the phone and social media, our daily awards, full out-of-town scoreboard. So a lot to do, as always, on our post-game coverage. But let's begin. Before we dive into this game and what went down and why the Padres lost this game, let's just take a wider look at the quote-unquote narrative part of tonight's game, the bigger picture part of tonight's game, in what the themes of this season have been. Because one thing we talked about pregame, the Padres, before today, had experienced one of the most difficult schedules in baseball, the 4th toughest schedule in baseball. But starting today, the schedule, and it's something we've talked about before, starts to soften up a bit. In fact, the Padres here today began a stretch of 13 consecutive games against sub-500 teams. The Angels, 2 more against them, 4 against the D-backs, 3 against the A's, 3 against the Mets. So a softer part of the schedule coming up. But as we know, this Padres team, even going back to last year, has struggled against teams that you feel like they should be able to handle. And unfortunately here tonight, this one falls right in that category. Padres lose 2-1. They were up against a good left-hander, good veteran left-hander in Tyler Anderson. But as we've detailed many, many times, it's no secret at this point, the Padres have not done a whole lot against left-handed pitching this year. And more in an overall sense, the Angels have one of the worst records in baseball at 21-38 coming in. A team that had not played well at home. And quite frankly, you look up and down their lineup, there aren't many names that really scare you. So the bottom line is this. In the narrative perspective, this game sort of fell into the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, so on and so on. Something we've talked about so often here on the pre- and post-game shows, the up and down nature of this season to this point, right? And you just think about the last 24 plus hours where the Padres were heading into the 9th inning yesterday, up 3-1, a chance to finally get a series sweep, a chance to move 4 games above 500, and really make you feel like there was some momentum building. 4 games above 500, something they hadn't done yet this year. But meanwhile, now you look at it here tonight, the Padres have lost 2 in a row. They're 32-31. They've got a guy making his major league debut on the mound tomorrow, and Adam Major. You certainly hope it goes really, really well, but obviously you never know with the major league debut. There's unknown there, and continued struggles against teams that are under 500 and teams that you feel like they should beat. So unfortunately here tonight, and it's not to say that this series will all end up like that, or this stretch of 13 games against sub-500 teams will all end up like they did here tonight. But unfortunately, this game fell into that same category where the Padres continue to struggle against teams you feel like they should be able to handle. So the narrative part of it, unfortunately, that's kind of where we end up tonight. And you look up and it's back to a game above 500. The sort of inability to really get it rolling, despite, like we've said, the Padres entering today 18-12 in their last 30 games. All right, so that's the narrative part of it. But this game in particular came down to really one thing. It came down to the Padres not being able to execute, whether you want to look at the 6th inning where they left 2 on, the 7th inning where they left 2 on, or most egregiously, the 8th inning where they got a leadoff double were unable to get that runner to third base with less than 2 outs, end up not scoring. The Padres left on 2 in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings. But meanwhile, the Angels, when they got their one big opportunity after the leadoff double by Joe Adele in the 8th inning, they were able to manufacture a run. All the Padres needed in this game late was to manufacture a run or two, and they could not do it in the later innings of this game. But meanwhile, the Angels got the double to begin the 8th inning. They move Adele to third on a fly ball deep enough to right. Luis Guillorme pinch hits, sac fly deep enough to center. Angels take a 2-1 lead. They win by that final score. That's what this game came down to here tonight. So we'll get more into it, what happened in those innings in the 6th and the 7th and the 8th. The 8th, to me, was the most frustrating here tonight because Profar gets on with the double. Then Fernando Tatis Jr. comes up and hits a fly ball to right that's not deep enough to get the runner over to third base. So an unproductive out. He swung at the first pitch, a slider that I didn't think, and I'm no hitting guru here, but I didn't think it was a great pitch necessarily to swing at in that spot when you're trying at the very least to get the runner over. So he pops up to shallow right, and then the intentional walk to Manny. Solano pops up, and then a fly out to left, and the inning is over. But it was beyond even just that 8th inning. The Padres couldn't get the big hit they needed. They left on 6 combined in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings combined. They were 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. So against Tyler Anderson, look, he's a veteran lefty having a good year. You still feel like the Padres should be able to get more than one run off him. They got the early home run from Manny. They couldn't do anything else offensively in this game. But I think you look at it this way. On a day where you're facing the Angels, you've just come off a series win against the Royals. It's a team that has not played well, period, this year. A team that has not played well at home. And on top of that, you get another great start for Matt Waldron. 6 innings and a third. 2 hits given up. 1 earned run allowed. He was fantastic in this game. And quite frankly, look, the bullpen ends up giving up a run in the 8th inning. It happens. The bullpen's not going to be totally perfect. So you look at it here tonight. The Angels had 2 runs on 4 hits. You just you feel like the Padres have to win a game like that against the Angels when your pitching staff on the road gives up 2 runs on 4 hits. And the problem was the Padres had just 1 run, and it came on the Machado home run, third batter of the game. They never got another run. So it was lack of execution, the lack of being able to at least scratch across a run or two in the 6th, 7th, or 8th inning. And the Angels, when they got that opportunity, they did. That's what it really came down to here tonight. You know, beyond the Waldron start, beyond what you thought about the Padres against Tyler Anderson, that's what it came down to. Just look at that 8th inning. They had 2 identical starts to the inning. A leadoff double. Angels were able to scratch across their run when they had that opportunity in the 8th, and the Padres did not. And that's what it came down to here tonight. We'll see if the Padres can bounce back tomorrow. When we come back, we'll do more recapping of this game. We'll also go back up to Angel Stadium, hear from Mike Schilt. Much more to come. Angels beat the Padres 2-1 on the Padres Radio Network.